Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Okay. So uh, we continue from the last time. That it's on it's on page. What's the page? It's on page 11. Yeah, it's on page 11. So I will first, read, and then on those important points, I will try to explain. Okay. So first we'll read. If you have text, you can read. You can check, see the text. If reborn as a hungry ghost, you will not be able to find so much as a drop of water for years. If you find it hard to observe a fasting retreat now, how could you endure such a rebirth? And as for the animal rebirths, take the case of being a dog. Examine in detail the sort of places where they live, the way they have to go in search of food, and the sort of food they eventually find. Do you think you could possibly bear living that sort of life? You may feel the lower limbs are far away, but between you and the lower limb is only that you can still draw breath. As long as we remain uncritical, we never suspect that we are going to the lower limbs. We probably think that we more or less keep our vows, perform most of our daily recitations, and have not committed any serious sin, such as killing a person and running off with his horse. The trouble is, we have not looked into things properly. We should think it over in detail. Then we would see that we are not free to choose whether we go to the lower limbs or not. This is determined by our karma. We have a mixture of virtuous and non-virtuous karma in our mental streams. The stronger of these two will be triggered by craving and clinging when we die. When we look into which of these two is stronger in our mental streams, we will see that it is non-virtue. And the degree of strength is determined by the force of the motive, the deed, and the final step. Thus, although we might think we have only done small non-virtues, but their force is in fact enormous. Okay. So let us take an example. Suppose you say one scornful word to your pupils. For instance, you are motivated by strong hostility, and as for the dread, you use the harshest words that will really wound them. And for the final step, you feel proud and have an inflated opinion of yourself. These three parts, motivation, dread, and the final step, could not have been done better. Suppose you kill a louse. Your motive is strong hostility. You roll the louse between your fingers and so on, torturing it along while then eventually you kill it. For the final step, you think that was helpful and become very smug. So the non-virtuous has become extremely powerful. We might feel our virtuous very strong, but in fact, it is extremely weak. The preparation, the motive, the main part of the deed, the final step, dedicating the virtue, etc., all have to be done purely if the virtue is to be very strong. Contrast with this, with the virtue we perform. First, there is a motive. I think it is rare for us to be motivated by even the least of motives. A yearning for a better rebirth, let alone have the best of the motives, bodhicitta, the mind that aspires to enlightenment, or the next best, renunciation. Right at the beginning, we usually aspire to achieve desires related to these lives, trivia, any prayers that we make to this end are in fact sinful. Then for the main part of the deed, there is no pure joy or enthusiasm to it. I will try to touch the topic, explain the topic, because all this, talks about, as said last time, it talks about, the painful experience, the suffering of the three lower limbs. So then what really is the purpose? What is the, after we reflect and contemplate on the sufferings of the three lower limbs, what is the purpose? What is the the reason? What is the purpose for reflecting on the suffering of the three lower limbs? So this is sometimes it is important to understand, because if you do not understand why we reflect on the suffering of the lower limbs, then we don't know how to practice. Right now, for example, after reflecting on the suffering of the lower limbs, we are encouraged to take the refuge. Why are we encouraged to take the refuge in the three jivas? I think each individuals have different strength of taking the refuge. So the highest degree of taking the refuge, the most powerful way of taking the refuge is determined and has much to do with how we have reflected on the suffering of the lower limbs. Because when we take the refuge, when we take the refuge, we need the three elements. We need the three important points to remember. The first one is the fear. We'll talk about the fear. It's not something, when we talk about fear, sometimes, of course, we don't want, fear. Nobody wants fear, It's understandable that, fear in some way is, what we do not need, what we don't want it. Sometimes even to the extent that we don't want to hear the word fear. But here, when we talk about taking the refuge, the requirement on our part is the fear. That fear is not an ordinary fear, that is something transformative fear, the fear which gives rise to many good qualities. Many wonderful qualities which help us transform our, our way of thinking, our, our attitude. And then we have, based on this cultivation of fear, then we develop the devotion, we develop the trust, we develop the devotion, we develop the faith in the reliability of the three jewels, in the authenticity of the power, the loving compassion, and the wisdom of the three jewels. Because we don't want to take the refuge without any reason, after all. It is a fact. It is really the fact that we all want happiness, don't we? We all want happiness, that we all do not desire suffering, the painful experience. There is no dispute over that. So therefore, if you really want to develop the purity, the high quality, the high quality refuge, taking the refuge, then it is indispensable and it is highly important to reflect on the conditions, on the reflect on the things which give rise to the really a powerful the fear and the devotion. So therefore, sometimes we talk about, I mean, we can spend the years and years studying Dharma. We can spend the years and years, say, trying to practice Dharma, trying to be, really, take a, deep, level of transformation within us. We want to lead a high quality life. We want to, serve others in a much, most effective way. But then all these lies in the all these lies, in the way how do we do practice. So that's very important. It is not just enough to practice. It is not just enough to hear the Dharma. It is not just enough to practice the Dharma. We need to understand, we need to know the right and the effective and the, in the to the point technique of how to study, how to practice. I mean, many of us doing the, studying Dharma, also, practicing Dharma. So, so therefore, when we talk about, taking the refuge, what makes our refuge, the going for refuge, taking the refuge, such an effective, such a powerful, is based on how much we really meditate, we really reflect on the sufferings of the three lower limbs. Right. Now, the question really is, if we were to meditate, if we were to reflect, contemplate on the pains and the suffering of the lower limbs, how do we go about reflecting? How do we go about contemplating? So again, that is only based on, sometimes, the things happen like this, sometimes we have a lot, in some case, in some situations, we have a lot of complaints, about this person and that person. We have a lot of complaints, Why it happens? Why complaining happens? Is mainly because mainly because of the lack and the shortage of appreciate what we have. So because of this, all these complaints comes, right? And not only that, just, for example, now this is something important. This is something important. For example, when we cultivate love, when we talk about cultivating, we all talk about, talking about love. We all talking about compassion. Sometimes what we call as, the unbiased compassion, unconditional love, unbiased compassion. But how do this? How do we cultivate these things? Of course, when we see the butcher, taking the some kind of, goat or sheep, to the butchering site, and then we can, meditate, the butchering, killing the goat or sheep. Of course, to some extent, we are able to cultivate, deep compassion for this, the innocent, sheep. But then the fullest and the most effective way that we can cultivate within ourselves, is that we visualize ourselves as a sheep rather than looking at the God and reflecting on their suffering. We meditate ourselves as sheep and then imagine how the butcher is leading me to the butchering site. That is the right way of doing meditation, or reflecting on the suffering of the others. This is something I feel something really powerful, because the pain is experienced on my body. The pain is experienced on my body. How much I feel unbearable of my own suffering. You are able to extend the same level, the same depth of the intensity of suffering towards other people. This is all about transforming, But then again, right now I'm just trying to trying to explain all these things. But in practical level, again, it takes time. It's not an easy job. It's not an easy job. It requires time. It needs the effort, a lot of constant effort on our part. So that's something really important. And then, by reflecting on such kind of suffering, how much I feel bearable. Do as a human being, as a human being, right? Now, say, I imagine myself as a sheep, and then I'm leading to the butchering site, the place where I'm being killed, because I visualize myself as a sheep. I'm then being led to the, killing site. And then I imagine, I'm going through all this pain. But that painful experience and the normal pain is totally different. I can't, do this kind of visualization. So that is, sometimes we may feel I can't do this kind of visualization. Again, we say this kind of, the painful experience and the painful experience in normal life is totally different, huge different. This kind of pain give rise to a lot of infinite qualities, internal qualities, inner qualities. Whereas in other cases, the normal, painful experience is a lot of disturbance, create the disturbances. Whereas in this kind of, visualization, in the imagination, where you are going through suffering, it is kind of, transformative, it embodies the transformative qualities. It gives rise to, it has the infinite potential to give rise to a lot of, wonderful, great qualities. So, so in this way, because nobody wants suffering, nobody wants painful experience. Now, if I were to go through such a painful experience, I don't want this kind of painful experience, right? Because I feel unbearable of this kind of pain, right? I really want to get out from this pain, suffering. Now I search who is the who is the real protector of me? Who is the protector who helps me dispel all this painful experience? Who really saves me from this kind of painful experience? I search here and there. Then, after searching, I then come to realize that only the three jewels has the power. Only the three jewels has the power. Again, when we talk about three jewels, we need to understand in the right way. Very important these things are, right? So I find the sole refuge, the sole savior, the ultimate savior, is the three jewels that I can trust, fully trust on them, because I can trust on them because why? Is because they are unreliable. Because they are reliable, sorry, because they are reliable, 100% trustworthy, they are 100% reliable. So therefore, I take the refuge, because why they are in the best position to help me, to save me, to protect me, is because these three jewels, Buddha jewel, Dharma jewel, Sangha jewel, these three, because they are freed from all the fears themselves. There is nothing that which makes them fear. Not a single situation can make them, can disturb their mind. Not only that, they are freed from all the fears, all the pain, all the suffering, all the limitations. And also, they are very skillful in leading others to the peace, others to the leading others from suffering, others from pain. They're highly skillful. Number two. Number three, because then they have equal love for all the beings, all the living creatures. Oh, I want to help you. I will help you because you pray to me, you dedicate to me. You know, you devoted to me. I'm going to help you. For this group of people, I will help you. For other group of people, I'm not willing to help because you don't trust me. You know, because you don't have devotion towards me. Not in that way. Not in that way. Because these, you know, the three jewels have the potential to be of the ultimate benefit. Because all the activity is motivated by the fullest level of compassion, the fullest strength, the fully blossomed compassion. Right? So they have equal level of compassion. Equal compassion for all the living beings. Because they have generated the mind of enlightenment. I am doing this kind of practice to serve all the living beings, not to this group of people, not to that group of people, for all the living beings who has the tendency, all the living creature who has the tendency to feel pain and pleasure. For all these beings, I'm going to serve, I'm going to help. So this is number three. Number four is because regardless of your background, because you have this job, I will help, and you have that job, I don't want to help. Not in that way. Or because you are close to me, I will help. Because you are, bring some harm to me, I don't want to help. Not in that way again. But regardless of your background, the love is for all. With these kind of, three jewels who has four qualities, so in these three jewels, in this kind of three jewels with the four qualities, we take a refuge. We go for refuge. Then the, not only that, once we have taken the refuge in the three jewels, now here, we want to clarify something important again. Now we talk about, yes, the three jewels, the Buddha jewel, the Dharma jewel, the Sangha jewel has all the potential, has all the good qualities to save us from the suffering, to save us from the samsara, to save us from the misery, all forms of misery. If the three jewels are in the position, are in the fullest position to help us, to save us, the question really is how Buddha can save us, how Dharma can save us, how Sangha can save us. That's again important. Now Buddha jewels, Of course, when we talk about, Buddha saving us, sometimes we may expect, some, kind of, some Buddha from the Pure Land will come to you and see you and meet you and give this and that, We can think, to some extent, this may also possible. This may also be possible. But that is not the right way of their saving us. The perfect, the most effective way of their saving us is not in this way. But but as we said just a while ago, that Buddha has the quality. Buddha has such a quality, the quality of skillfulness, the skillfulness in helping us remove the suffering, dispel the pain. Now, Buddha, as we said, Buddha is skillful in leading us to the right path. The skillful in helping us, skillful in saving us. Now, how he is skillful? Again, we need to understand this. Buddha, now when we talk about the skillfulness, Buddha's skillfulness in leading us to the right path, right direction, the right way, that is done only through giving the teachings, especially giving the teachings on the law of karma, giving the teachings on the Four Noble Truth, giving the teachings on the ultimate, nature of the reality, giving the teaching on Bodhidharma. This is how Buddha can help us. Buddha can, that's why we have the whole responsibility in our hand. That means we need to work hard. On the part of the Buddha, how he can help us is just show us the right path. He showed us the right path, and whether we implement it, whether we practice it, is in our hand. So that's why Buddha said, Tumna Divachu imitation, Buddha cannot wash away the sins, negative karma of the other people, his followers. Tumna Divachu imitation, Buddha cannot, eliminate, remove the suffering of his followers just by hand blessing. Buddha cannot transfer his internal qualities onto the others, just by doing some kind of like operation, and now here you go, I give my spiritual realization, the spiritual attainments that I have found, I give to you. There's no such thing. So then Buddha finally summarized. Now I give you the teaching. I give you the teaching on the emptiness. I give you the teaching on the ultimate nature of reality. By practicing it, you yourself is liberated. So Buddha said this. So much is now finally, that's why Buddha say, one is the creation, one is the protector of yourself, one is the protector of oneself, one is the savior of oneself, and one is the enemy of oneself. There is no other enemy. So So this is how Buddha can help us, really, only through expounding the teaching, only through giving the teaching. You see, if you try to understand the structure of this, the structure of making a spiritual journey, the structure of making a spiritual journey, then the great master, the great Indian Buddhist, the rationalist, or the great logician, Dharmakirti, Master or Dignath, he say, Buddha is a valid teacher. Samar you dollar pension ba. Then I don't go to this. Then he said, Buddha is a perfect, protector. Buddha is a perfect teacher. Why he is the perfect teacher? Because he taught us what he has experienced. He taught us the Four Noble Truths based on his own experience, based on what he found. In this way, Buddha is a perfect teacher. Therefore, because he is the perfect teacher, he has all the wisdom, he has compassion. So therefore, Buddha is a perfect teacher for those who are seeking the total cessation, who are seeking enlightenment, who wants to make an end to the end to the suffering. This really makes what Buddha is. Maybe if you talk about, kind of like studying, some the modern subjects, the academic subjects, geography, history, other mathematical calculations, all these things. For those, person, Buddha may be not relevant because he's not dealing on these subjects. He's just dealing on how because we are suffering, how to get out of from the suffering. So he taught the method how to get out of from the suffering. Right. So this, so it is through giving the teaching of the law of karma, the law of karma. When we talk about the law of karma, so by observing the law of karma, that we are liberated, that we are freed from the suffering of the lower limbs in the next life. By undertaking the practice of the Four Noble Truths, that we get freedom from the samsara. By training in the six perfections, that we are finally to achieve enlightenment. So this is the teaching that he taught, and in this way he is the protector, he is the savior for us. Then the second one is how, I have already talked about how Buddha can save us. Now I will talk about how Dharma will save us. Now, how Dharma can save us? Dharma Jibal. We are talking. We are going for refuge in the Dharma Jibal. We seek. We take the refuge in the Dharma Jibal. For what reason? Then, when we talk about seeking the refuge, now, first, now that is the that's kind of like spiritual journey. First, because without doing anything, without studying and without doing, just trying to expecting to develop some kind of deeper naked experience, it's impossible unless you have well trained in over many past lives. Unless you have well trained, then there is the exception. Otherwise, if you not have well trained in over many past lives, just trying to expecting to develop, deep, a spiritual experience without doing any kind of study. This is illogical. It does not make any sense, right? So therefore, first, then we need to observe the law of karma. What is karma? We need to observe. I will talk about this. When we talk about the law of karma, that is that is the topic. It's also important, interesting, yet pretty complicated. I will discuss about this in a separate later on. Right now, I'm not discussing the law of karma. So then first we need to, before we put the law of karma into the practice, first we need to study, first it becomes important for us to study, about the law of karma. So by engaging in the study, we develop some kind of understanding in the law of karma. That is important. That is very good. That is very important. But then again, the wisdom that we gain through conviction is not again enough. Now we need to make some kind of experience at the experience level. We need to cultivate into the experience level. When we are able to cultivate the experience at the experience level, then what really happens is, then based on this deep experience, the transformation takes place. The inner transformation takes place. When the inner transformation takes place, now you say, what is the measurement that you develop a deep experience in the law of karma? It's because, even in the most difficult situation, which requires telling some kind of lies, which demands or requires, making a false claim, you are not going to do that, because you fear the negative consequences of making lie or making false claim. Even you dare to kill even a small insect. So if you reach at such a level, that shows you have transformed internally. Right. In this way, then finally you are also able to, cultivate, the wish to seek the total, peace, the total, peace, the total joyful experience, total bliss. Because how do we develop the wish to seek the blissful experience, the joyful experience, the most joyful experience? That is called, sometimes we call a cessation quality. The cessation quality means the total, the total pacification, of the ignorance, the grasping, total pacification of the ignorance and the grasping, in order to cultivate that total cessation. First of all, we need to meditate, we need to reflect, we need to contemplate on the 12 links of dependent origination. How do we circle, how do we revolve into the samsara through the force of the 12 links of dependent origination? Not only that, we also need to think about the shortcomings of the samsara, the shortcomings of the samsara. So with these two techniques, powerful technique, we are then able to cultivate, develop the mind. We seek the total liberation. Once we are able to cultivate the cessation quality, the nirvana, which sometimes called as nirvana, it is at that point we are totally transformed. We are able to remain in blissful experience for years and years, for decades and decades, for centuries and centuries. You are going to remain in that state forever. There's no such thing like getting your realization drop down or degenerate. There's no such things. Once you obtain it, this obtainment of nirvana or cessation is forever, and you are not going to experience not a single of pain and suffering forever. That's why the Hinayana practitioner, some of the Hinayana practitioners are so intoxicated by this kind of blissful experience, so intoxicated that they don't want to enter into the Mahayana path. And even sometimes those bodhisattvas, for example, like say I'm Hinayana practitioner, I'm Hinayana practitioner, and I, later on I joined the Mahayana practitioner. I become bodhisattva. When I become bodhisattva, sometimes things happen, like sometimes such things happen that because I had the flavor of this blissful experience, that I'm sometimes, my mind is so intoxicated by this blissful experience, and my spiritual journey on Buddhahood is sometimes delayed. It get delayed. So anyway, this is the really profound blissful experience. This is the real, cessation quality. Then Dharmajival, how Dharmajival can save us, right? Oh, sorry. Then Sanghajival. Now I already talked about how the Dharmajival can save us, right? Because it is finally when we have achieved, when we have attained this cessation quality, that really is the protector of us. That make an end to the suffering once and for all. The suffering never ever comes back. The pain never ever comes back. Then you are in that, blissful experience eternally, forever. So in this way, we are saved. There's no more headache, no more stress, no more depression, all these things. Now, when we talk about Sanghajival, of course, for example, the Sangha members, in the monastic, of course, we call Sangha members, but the point that the object, the object that we take the refuge in the Sanghajival is those, for those on this spiritual path, they have cultivated the wisdom, they have cultivated the bodhidharma. So if I am a Mahayana practitioner, I take a refuge in the Mahayana refuge. And then there is what is called as the common refuge, uncommon refuge. Taking a refuge in the uncommon, going for refuge, going to the uncommon refuge, going to the common refuge. Right. So in the case of the uncommon refuge, I can take the refuge in the Sangha jivas, those Sangha jivas who has the quality of the wisdom, who has the direct realization of emptiness in their mind. And not only that, who has also the bodhicitta. In such a person, we are taking refuge. So now here, for example, sometimes we need, companion, when we walk onto the spiritual path, when we make a spiritual journey, we need some, we need, someone who really, who help us, give this, the spiritual inspiration. So in these, spiritual companions, in some way, they also help us in many ways. So in this way, so we say, three jewels has the potential to save us, has the power to save us. Right. Now, after having said that, now the last one. Now, after having taken the refuge, what we are supposed to do? After having taken the refuge in the three jewels, the common, we take the refuge in the common jewel, three jewels, the uncommon three jewels. Now we are supposed to do. Now, the things that we are supposed to do is now, whether we are in a peace, whether we are in a normal situation, whether we are in the, the unpleasant situation, we give, we place a complete trust in the three jewels. That is again important. That is the nature of the three jewels. That is the nature of the three jewels. Otherwise, sometimes what really happens is when things are well, when when the situations are going well, when things are good, and then when the problem arises, when the challenges, when we face with the challenges, sometimes then what really happens is now we then go to sometimes we sometimes go to we then try to worship some the worldly gods, seeking their help. And then we try to follow this and that, so many things. So if that really happens, that shows, that indicates, you're taking the refuge. It's not that it's not that, how to say, not, something stable. It's, just like, in a fluctuating state. Then even, when the challenges arises, then we even forget the three jewels, that we may say, three jewels are not working for me. So in not that way. So that means whether we are in a pleasant situation, when the things are normal, or whether the things are unnormal, when we face with the difficulties, challenges of the life, in both cases, we place the total trust in the three jivas. Now see, now let us see. When the things are in normal, when the things are going in a normal way, things are okay, perfect, So then we trust, we trust that the thing, the normality, the things going good, things are, really working well for you. So these are the kindness, these are the blessings of the three jivas. These are the blessings of the three jivas. I can, so in this regard, how all the good things in your life is the blessing of the three jewels is, I can explain, but I'm not today. It's a little bit difficult to understand. It's a little bit difficult to understand. So I will later on, when I get the time, I will talk a little bit about this. Right. So I will talk about this now. When we are in the unpleasant situation, when we face the difficulties, when we go through some kind of challenges in the life, when we have a very hard time, so then we place the trust on the three jewels. The three jewels, you know everything. I mean, I place a trust, and you know the perfect solution. That from the depth of your heart, from the depth of your the core from your heart, that only you know better. Only you know better. That means now, we believe this, the kind of hard situation or challenges, the challenges that we faced, that we encounter, is due to the blessing of the three jewels. Now we may wonder, due to the kindness of the three jewels, due to the blessing of the three jewels, right? Now we wonder, some of the people, some people may think, it doesn't make any sense, where I'm going through challenges, I'm going through difficulties in life. How come this this monk is saying, it's a blessing of the, three jewels? It doesn't make any sense at all. Some people may argue me. Now here, I again stress that this is the challenges of the life, the difficulties of the life, is due to the blessing of the three jewels. Because now, for example, the challenges like, the sickness, physical sickness. Just take the example like physical sickness. Now, how is it the physical sickness, the blessing of the three jewels, that the blessing that I received from the three jewels, is because if we try to understand the profundity of the Dharma, the practicality of the Dharma, the depthness of the Dharma, the blessing of the Dharma, the sickness, or say, or for example, say, I'll just give me a small example. I give a very small example. For example, I am, I'm full, for example, I am full. So even though I am full, somebody bring me the best of the food, the most delicious food, I enjoy it. Right. Now, in the situation where I'm starving, where I haven't eaten food for 3 or 4 days, and then somebody bring me the worst kind of food, worst flavor food. To be honest, for me, which one I enjoyed most? I enjoy the food, worst food, when I'm starving, when I have not eaten food for a few days. Now if we again, if you try to understand the happiness, the painful experience, the happiness, the pleasurable experience, the pleasurable experiences versus the unpleasurable experiences. Because if you try to look very carefully, When we talk about the pleasure, when we talk about the pleasure of the physical health, physical, or when we talk about the pleasure of the mind, happiness of the mind, the pleasure of the mind. The pleasurable experiences that we experience, that we enjoy, is nothing other than the cessation of the pain and suffering. Therefore, because of this reality, this nature, I, even though the food that I eat is very, have not much flavor, but I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy it greatly, because the suffering of, the suffering of hunger is satisfied. The suffering of hunger is satisfied. This suffering of hunger is satisfied. This, the suffering of hunger is satisfied, and the suffering of hunger is, pacified. This specified nature, the cessation of the, the cessation of the suffering of the hunger is, I believe, as happiness. I believe as pleasure. Therefore, I enjoy the best flavor. Again, now you take a, you take a long walk. You take a long walk. You take a long, I mean, people go for hiking. People go for camping. People go for trip here and there. And also take a long walk. You take a long walk, and then after 5 or 6 hours, your feet begin to get hurt. And then after you get hurt, you're tired, you're hurt, and then you take a rest under the shadow of the tree, and you feel the sense of joy, tremendous sense of joy. That joy you haven't felt before. You haven't felt before. Because why you enjoy such a time, even if the sleep that you, even, after such a tiredness, you go to sleep, the sleep is such a pure, such a soothing, such a peaceful. Because it is nothing other than this kind of pleasure, the sleep, that the pleasure that I derive from the very good sleep, soothing sleep, is nothing other than the mere cessation of the suffering of tiredness. No, no, I'm going too far. I'm also lost. uh, oh yeah. So now, yeah. Mm, whether we are in a peaceful situation or unpleasant situation, I say, this is the blessing of the three jivas, right? Now here, even in an unpleasant situation, we say, now come back, now, for example, some people have some, physical sickness, Now, if we really, think, more, profoundly, more deeply, this sickness that we have, is the purification practice. is the purification practice. The three jivas has bestowed us the opportunity to, opportunity or given us the space to make this happen. If the same kind of illness, if we were to, experience in somewhere where there is no kind of conditions, where there's no facilities, for example, like in the lower limbs is done. And not only this, even in the physical sickness, we have a lot of, something, really wonderful and unimaginable, for a practice that we can do. For example, like now we talk about Tonglen practice, the giving and taking. Giving and taking. The same amount of the pain, the physical pain that I'm in, that I also take the suffering of all the same kind of the illness of all the beings driven upon me, that I give my joy and happiness towards others. You can also do such a wonderful, mind training practice going through this, But again, I'm just trying to explain, I'm just trying to explain the, the way of practicing Dharma. But in practically, the real thing is the practical. Now, in practical, we need to, we need to lay some foundation. Without laying on the foundation, very sudden, all of a sudden, when things happen, you're expecting to do this. It does not work. If you do not have laid of concrete in the, very stable foundation, strong foundation, all of a sudden, then things happen, and then we're trying to do something. This is not how it works. Step by step, we do all this from the beginning, laying some foundation, small foundation. And then when the real things happen, then we are able to integrate, we are able to practice. Like, when we are sick, for example, when we are sick, we can visualize, that, I'm just purifying my own negative karma. So all this, kind of imagination or some kind of, the spiritual practice has to do, from the step by step before things really happened. Right. Then now, for example, like now there are other kinds of problems, the challenges that we face in our daily life. There is not a single person who is free from all these, the challenges, the problem. Now, if we were to face such challenges, what do we do? What would we do? What could we do? So, right, in these challenges, I gave the example of the sickness, and then we are a lot of challenges. There's many challenges, difficulties. Now, when we have some challenges or difficulties, now there are two ways to deal with those challenges. There are two ways to deal with the challenges. There are two ways to deal with the situation, unpleasant situation. One is dealing with this through positively, in a positive way. One is dealing with the situation through the negative way. Now, in order to deal with the situation in a positive way, some people are able to deal with the situation in a positive way, whereas some people deal with the situation in a negative way. And then those people who deal with the situation is in a negative way, what really happens is it leaves side effects. The situation gets worse and worse. And it happens. The people deal the situation in a negative way because of the shortage of the merit, because of the shortage of the accumulation of the merit, because of the shortage of the accumulation of merit, and the shortage of the purification practice. Yet, on the other hand, some people are able to deal with a situation in a positive way. And then those who are able to deal in a positive way, I think they have some certain degree of the support of the merit, certain degree of the purification practice. With this support, the person is able to transform the unpleasant situation into the pleasant situation. So therefore, in the, for example, like we talk about the mind training practice, like the 7-point mind training. In the second 7-point mind training, there's a one practice called transforming the adversaries, transforming the adversity, the misfortunes, transforming the misfortunes into the advantages, into the pleasant situation. Again, to transform the misfortunes into the pleasant situation. Again, one is training. When before the real things happens, one need to train from the grassroots level. When the things happen, we are expecting to do all these things. Impossible. How can we do? So start from the grassroots level, step by step. Then your mind increase, the power of your mind increase, and then the real situation happen. We are able to deal with calmly, in a calm way. Right. Again here. When we talk about the physical sickness, this is really understandable, because this is produced by karma. When we talk about the sicknesses are totally related to the karma. There now, for example, like say the natural disaster. These are beyond our control. Earthquake, wildfire. So in this, this happens unpredictably. We cannot control much. But then some of the challenges that we do face, that we encounter, these challenges arise much from the distortions, the misunderstanding, the distortions, or finally it is ignorance. Finally, distortions, ignorance. Because if you look into these challenges, many of the pain and suffering, the challenges, if you look very closely, finally it has to do with either believing things to be permanent, number one, and believing that's self-cherishing thought. Then number two is self-cherishing thought. Number three is what we call as the grasping or ignorance. Believing things to be permanent, the ignorance, the self-cherishing thought. With these three, much of the challenges that they actually, these are self-creation. These are really unnecessarily self-creation. So this problem, again, in order to deal with this problem, challenges, we can meditate on Buddha or this Buddha, that Buddha. In some way, it helps. It helps. But then it helps. But then, for example, right? I say I have a very wonderful, there's a the golden, there's a diamond, ring in the market. I'm just giving an example. There's a diamond ring on the market, or such a sometimes we call as say very fancy car, very very luxurious car, right? Or some kind of something antique item, antique artifact. So they're selling, and you lost the heart, you really want to buy it at all cost. is so, impressive, so fascinating. You really want to buy it at all costs, but these are beyond your budget. The item is beyond the budget, your budget. Now you want it. Now, at the same time, the item is beyond the budget. Now, now we think more and more about this artifact, and we become more unhappier. Now we become, kind of things like restlessness. Restlessness. We become kind of, a little bit disturbed. Our mind get disturbed, unhappy. Now you feel unhappy. Now this unhappiness mind. This unhappiness mind. How do we remove this unhappiness mind? How do we remove this unhappiness mind? I meditate on bodhicitta, bodhitam. Yes, it helps, but this is not the way. I can meditate on some, the Buddha image, Buddha picture. Again, it helps, but not in a very effective way. Now, in order to remove this, pain and suffering, what is the solution? The lasting solution, the perfect solution is not outside. The perfect solution is from inside. Because the perfect solution inside, therefore we need to transform our mind. When we talk about transform our mind, how do we transform our mind? When we talk about transforming our mind, so because I need to dispel, remove this suffering. In order to dispel suffering, I need to transform my mind. How should I transform my mind to remove this suffering, mental pain? The transformation, this transformation of mind is now, now meditate on the nature of the reality. Meditate on the nature of the reality. That means, now, for example, some, kind of like diamond ring. I said, for example, like diamond ring, right? This diamond ring, I need to meditate on the nature of this diamond ring. What is the nature of the diamond ring? The nature of the diamond ring is because this diamond ring is impermanent. This diamond ring is impermanent. We believe this is permanent. Because of this, I suffer. Now, if I were to remove the, the suffering which is produced by this, believing diamond ring to be permanent, so I have to meditate on the nature of the diamond ring, impermanent of the diamond ring. So similarly, when we talk about transforming the mind, what is the dharma? We talk about dharma, right? So what is dharma? Dharma is about transforming the mind. Sorry. If dharma is about transforming the mind, then how do we transform? We transform our mind based on the nature of the reality. Based on the nature of the reality. Based on the nature of the reality. What is the reality? The reality is that things are impermanent, things are empty of inherent existence. Now, for example, like there are some people, right? For example, there are some people who branded them as my enemy. By branding them as my enemy, the problem arises. The problem arises one after the another. It is endless, it is a vicious cycle. It is endless. The problem comes, one problem cease, another problem arise. Therefore, we sometimes called some person as, the branded others as an enemy. But in reality, that person deserves love. That person, the person that we call as enemy, that person at all cost, that person is not the happiest person. That person is under the control of, how to say, that person deserves love, that person wants happiness. That person does not want, suffering. That person want happiness, do not want suffering. And that person is also due to the bereft of love, bereft of the happiness. So therefore, we give love to that person. We give compassion to that person. Because why we give compassion to that person is because that person is the object of your compassion, object of your love. That person is the object of your love, object of your compassion. So in this way, we call that person, now finally this somebody, we call it, that person is the object of your compassion. Yet at the same time, if the person does the wrong action is a wrong action. We don't criticize the person, we criticize the action, his or her action. If the action is committed is wrong, the wrong action done is wrong. So you have all the justification to pinpoint if the action is wrong, the action is wrong. But as a person deserve love. The person is your object of compassion, right? So, so to make the things, long story short, I say both in peaceful, both in the normal life as well as in whether you are in normal life, whether you are going through the good, whether you are going through the normal life, as well as even, and also when you are going through the challenges, we never forget, we never forsake three jewels. We purely trust the three jewels. The more we trust, the more we get support from the three jewels. The more we develop the trust, the more we develop the we rely on the three jewels, the more we develop a wish to follow the instructions on the law of karma. Again, when we talk about the law of karma, it is important to understand that Buddha has not invented the law of karma. Buddha has discovered the law of karma. So I think now, I think it's 8:33. Yeah, it's time to. Okay, yeah. Oh, so I will stop here, and then hopefully next time I will talk more about the law of karma. That's something really important. Oh, yeah, one day you know that Lama Sanjay to be in it. I think I'm about hey, so like you were sure. 마제바나 제유지 개원냐 밤에봐야 권내 공대 배워서 야다다 와는 거지 마제바나 제유지 개원냐 밤에봐야 권내 공도 배워서 잠배봐야 지다 캠바다 권도 성보 대 대신에 대다 그게 제수다로지 개와데다 탐제 잡동 대선 시에 개와 탐제 뭐 하나 초동 아파트 다기 제외 잡아 대규가 성보 주지 잡동 뭐 이게 매제 대진지레스야 디네 캠베 원보 잠배야 Okay. You. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you Rinpoche.
Yeah,
Thank you Bang Tổ chức.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you everyone. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Rama.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Dạ, cảm ơn mọi người đã vào nghe Pháp và hẹn gặp lại phần tới.